history magnets coming at you. I went all 90s then. Hello.
I
Hello,
feel we
Beccy.
need a jingle.
I have tried to rope my niece who plays the keyboard. She's the only person in our family who can play an instrument.
That's
So,
what we need. Okay.
but she's 15, so is she going to be interested? If not,
We'll
do
ask.
you know anyone?
We'll ask the internet.
We'll
That's
ask
what
the
we'll do.
internet. Well, I was thinking we have to go on that Fiverr, where you can ask anyone to do anything for a Fiverr, but it's not a Fiverr, it's
Oh
loads of
yeah.
money.
Yeah. Maybe we'll do that. Anyway, we're back for our. She's got a
Sorry.
cough. That's it. Winter ills already.
Yeah,
Winter ailments.
I've
That's
already
what
had the
happens.
flu. Have you?
No, I'm
Oh, yeah.
fine. Husband has man flu, currently speaking. He's
Yeah.
coughing his guts up watching Harry Potter, so that's nice. So here we are, though, talking to ourselves back after our summer break, I feel
Yeah,
like.
it's been too long that we've been apart, although we have seen each other in between, which we'll
We
talk
have
about
seen each
later.
other. Yes.
But it is always too long. I think
Yes.
every day is just too long when I'm not with you. So
It's just when you've got a history BFF and you can't be with them, you feel
yeah,
it.
I know. And when everyone in the room starts going like this because they don't want to make eye contact with you in case you talk about history stuff.
I
I've been
know.
told I'm a lot worse about talking about history stuff, even though I've now got someone to talk to
Oh, are you?
about history stuff
Have I
with.
encouraged you too much? Is that what it
Yes.
is? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oops.
That's why
Never
they
mind.
pass their driving test so they can drive away from me. So that's
Well,
lovely.
that is, yeah. Well,
Yeah.
that is well done them, though,
Yeah,
actually.
thank
Very
God.
good.
Yes.
Yeah.
Very good.
Yes.
Yeah. I've only driven my car twice in the last 2 weeks because I haven't seen it since,
No,
yeah.
you won't. Yeah.
But you have returned from afar.
I have. I've been away. So yeah. So I might have a little chat about that today. Might have a little chat about Zanzibar and my travels to the African continent, which was very
Oh,
exciting. And
yes.
yeah. But I think we should also cover off things like, as you mentioned, we did meet up recently. We went to a book event in Bath, which we had a lovely time at.
Yes.
Which was very what's the word for me? It was an introduction for me, so that was good. So I appreciated that. So it was good. But then what else are we going to talk about today? Today
Well,
things like
I've been to Bristol
oh
to
yes,
see more book amazing people, and we've
yes,
got a couple of films and books to talk about, and then we're going to talk about volunteering because we thought we
yes,
probably should because it's a worthwhile thing for people to
it
do. It's
is.
a great way to learn more about history
Mm-hmm.
when you can't find any other way. So I've lost all my
Yeah.
words then. Um, so, and because there's lots of ways to do it, and that's where we met, and obviously we like
Yeah.
to reminisce about that. And yeah, what other things? That's about it, isn't
I think
it?
that's
Oh,
about it.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, because we've got some exciting stuff coming up, which we'll also talk about at the end of this podcast about some
Yeah,
of the new things for the podcast moving
I think
forward.
we definitely are texting each other a lot with lots of ideas. And what I really love about you, Becky, is that you're a doer as well. So you have an idea and then you want to do it, and you actually do. You actually bring it together, and we actually end up doing those things. I hate it when people are like, yeah, we must do that, we must do that. You're like, well, let's do it then. So that also helps with the
Yes.
magnetism.
It does help with magnetism. But unfortunately, magnetism is going to be a bit far apart coming up because someone, not me, is going on holiday again.
Oh yeah, on Tuesday I'm going to Portugal. I'm going to Faro
Oh, that's
with my mum,
it's
who
very
lives in
exciting.
France. We're meeting there. It's exciting. I don't really know anything about Portugal, but I
No.
might try and drag my mum to because I won't be able to not talk to you for a week.
Yeah.
So maybe we could get together and talk with my mum there as well. But
Yeah, I think that's a great
I know,
idea.
the number one thing I want to go to is a chapel built from bones, the Skull
Oh,
Chapel.
yes. Yes. I have
Um,
heard of that. I've seen pictures of that.
yes, so have I. It looks amazing. So,
Mm.
and it's supposed to be sunny still. So I'm going to go to that. So yeah, so that
Lovely.
will be lovely load of photos for me to send to you. Loads of
That'll be
skulls.
it. And everyone follow along on Instagram because I'm sure she'll post on there too.
Yes, I
And
will.
yeah.
I will. Skulls, skulls galore. Yes,
Girls
it'd be
galore,
lovely.
yes. I mean, if you wanted to do a snog, marry, avoid from there as well, you never know. Depending
I
on who you find
definitely
out, what
will.
history you find out, who you
Yes.
uncover.
I need to have a look because I'm going to Faro, which is sort of at the bottom of the Algarve, is it maybe? I don't know. See, I'm rubbish, so I need to
Absolutely
look at
no idea.
some
Geography is
famous
not my
people.
forte.
No, it's not my
Yeah,
forte either. So shame on me. So next time we speak, I'll be a fountain of knowledge of all things Portuguese, she says.
absolutely. Very good. Very good. I can't wait.
Yes, yes. But I was very impressed with your SMA for from Zanzibar, and you put some great thought, great pictures of it all, and you went to the Freddie Mercury Museum.
Well, yes, he's got a whole museum to himself. I mean, that's pretty fantastic. And I kind of spoiled it for myself because we went to Stone Town, which is the capital of the island, and it's actually like the old quarter of Zanzibar city, and it's a UNESCO heritage site. So we hired this
Oh,
guy. He was like brilliant, absolutely brilliant, and he picked us up, and it was like an hour drive to it, and you go through the countryside, and you bear in mind Zanzibar is a wonderful island just off the east coast of like Africa, the continent. Just it's part of Tanzania, but not part of Tanzania. They are part. It's part of
yeah,
that country, but
yeah.
it kind of stands on its own kind of thing and kind of does its own thing. It's got white sands, palm trees. It's very they've got a massive what's the word spices. It's a spice island. That's what they call it. But
Oh,
obviously it is. It's Indian Ocean, so it's like a used to be like a massive trading hub back in the 18th and 19th century, and
yeah,
and unfortunately, historically, not for the right reasons. In some ways, for the right reasons for all the spices, but in some ways, not the right reasons for the East African slave trade, which obviously was very um, prominent in that area at the time. But it was an eye opener, and I'm really glad we
yeah.
got to go to Stone Town because it was amazing. It felt very much like. Um, what you're gonna if you've ever been to Marrakesh and you've been to like the tiny little tight alleys and like little there's no kind of through roads, it's all kind of like motorcycles and bikes kind of like going through, all very closed in, and then you kind of like go around the corner and then suddenly you get a burst of color and you get a um like a courtyard, a bold courtyard just in there in the middle of a hotel and stuff like that. You just keep walking around these little alleyways and seeing all these absolutely beautiful, wonderful things. It is a really nice place and really safe, and everyone's like, so it's basically a Muslim and Christian country, and they lived side by side perfectly harmoniously. A lot of people could probably learn from that island,
Yeah. Is
and
it overly
it was just
populated?
amazing.
Is it
It
really
is quite
busy?
populated. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, quite busy. Constant. One of those beep beeps all the time of like little
yeah.
motorcycles like going around and stuff. And it is quite busy, but it's just like such a mashup of different cultures because obviously it was an Omani run by Omani sultans
Right.
back in the day, so that's hence why it's like half of it's like a Muslim, half the population is Muslim, but then it became a British protectorate, um, because everything became
Because
kind of
that's what we all
because
did.
that's what
Yeah. Yeah.
we did back in the day, obviously in 1964 the revolution happened and then it became part of Tanzania as a full thing. So but yeah, so you have a mashup of different cultures there. Like you have got a bit of British and a bit of European, but it's a lot of Arab and Persian and Indian cultures and
Oh,
stuff,
wow.
and you could see it, and I became absolutely obsessed by their doors. And the poor guy who was taking us round was just like, "Do you want to take another picture of this door?" Like literally,
Stop.
yeah, I literally was. And they were like, "Oh, where's she gone? Oh, she's just taking a picture." And I mean, it's ironic because here's me, we're doing this, and we put it on Instagram and stuff like that. But honestly, the kids were there, doing their Instagram moments and stuff. And honestly, it just really made me laugh. There's this one beautiful doorway, not one, but one of the most beautiful doorways there, and obviously the Instagram kids were trying to get it for their Instagram, and they're standing there, there's literally queues of people around them waiting to take a picture, but they have no concept, they're just standing there posing in front of it, and then they're swapping in and out with their groups of friends, and we're all sat there. In the end, my tour guide, because he can see I was just like, yeah, want to get on. And he's just like, excuse me, ladies, can you kind of like come off and like
We
let
like let the
this
professional
poor
ride.
old woman take a picture, like a normal old picture, like, you know, because she wants like a beautiful picture for a thing. But anyway,
So
but
what?
they were,
Whose store was it? Was it a person's store?
oh,
Was it a shop or
honest,
a museum? Or
literally everywhere you go, the doors are just like amazing. It's just phenomenal. It's just great. And so they're all sorts of types of places. Like some. So there's the Tipu Tip, the guy I talked about in my Snog Marry and Avoid one. His one was like his one was uh very impressive for his time, but the one that I was talking about was like a little bit later, so it was a little bit more elaborate and a little bit more impressive. I'll put a little picture of it
yeah,
on here so people can see which one I'm talking about. But they are, and the more, so basically it was a show of wealth. The bigger and better your doorway was,
right.
the more wealth you had, the bigger the doorway you had, and it's basically what it was. But the difference in between, you had the your Indian kind of example of your door, and then you've got the Arabian type of door as well, and the different kind of whether you've got an arch at the top means different things, and whether you have like kind of
Oh, I love
sayings
stuff like
around it was
that.
different things. They had like on some of them they had big brass kind of like pointy kind of knobby things, and I was just like, well, that's beautiful, because they just look beautiful. But actually it was because there was a deterrent for elephants, because elephants could just bang through wooden
Yeah,
doors. Like, even though they were big old wooden doors, but you've got a big old
yeah.
however many ton elephant, that's just going to barge through anything. So what they
Oh,
ended up doing was putting these brass, they weren't pointy necessarily, but like blunty point, if that makes sense.
yeah.
The
So
all
it's not
these
going to
brass.
stab them.
So
Yeah.
basically, because the elephants knew they didn't want to do it because it was going to hurt, so they avoided doing that
Oh,
on the door. So actually, it looked beautiful and it was a good deterrent. But you
yeah.
know, but yeah, poor elephants. But yeah, it was yeah. But yeah, so we walked all the way around. Beautiful place, very busy, and yeah, you just saw lots of old things which were just
Oh,
harking back to when it was a different time, and you know, we love that sort of stuff.
yeah.
You know,
That sort of
we live for
feel.
that. And yeah, and it was brilliant. I mean, but obviously there were some area, well, Freddie Mercury, that was brilliant. Like, you know, it was random because it actually is quite out of place. Like, you know, you don't see, all of it's
Yeah.
very old worldy, and then you walk through and then you see, oh yeah, the Freddie Mercury museum's there, and there's him
Well,
standing there with
I
silhouettes
knew
and
he
stuff,
was born
whatever.
there, but I didn't realise he spent actually quite a bit of time
Yeah,
there. I thought
yeah.
he
So
came to the
yeah.
UK quite early, but
Yeah, so he I think they came, so interestingly, the guy was telling us that his dad worked in the government, and I think they left, I think he said it was just the year before, so he knew something was about to kick off,
yeah,
and revolution was coming. It was like the writing was on the wall, so they escaped, and they he
got
was like, yeah,
there.
they went to Feltham, and I was like, ooh. I mean, bless anyone who lives in Feltham, but like, you go from Zanzibar to Feltham is like a vast difference, especially back in the early 60s. It would have been a vast difference.
Well, if you've got to avoid the elephants in
But yeah,
Zanzibar, and then
exactly, yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, so he went off to boarding school. He went to a British school in India first. So he was spent a lot of his education over there and then came back. But but yeah, then they left and escaped the revolution and
wow,
went and set up there. So that was it. That was interesting. But the most interesting thing in a, you know, humbling way was the what is now the not archbishop, cathedral, Anglican cathedral. I don't know what I was saying there. I have to cut that. The Anglican cathedral, which was built on the place of the old slave market. So this the slave market was torn down when the slave trade was abolished, and it's said that the altar now sits where the old slave whipping post used to be, and it's like you
oh
can
my
see like
God,
a thing,
yeah,
and it is very you know, quite humbling to see, because you kind of like go into the church and you see that, and then you come back out and then there's a little museum, and you walk into that, and then you can actually go downstairs, and then downstairs is where they held the slaves, when they came to market. So they came in through the customs house, and then dependent on their how they were was dependent on how much tax the person who was bringing them got charged. And then once they, because you'd have like height, you know, whether you're a woman or a child or a male, and how fit you were and stuff, so you got tax dependent on that. And then you got taken into this house. The top bit was a house, but they got taken downstairs, and there was literally, you had like a little slit, which was the window. You had two windows, and that was it. They weren't even, when we're talking windows, we're talking
Yeah.
about this kind of thing, like an arrow slit, basically.
Yeah.
That's what it was.
Oh
and
God.
and you'd have, I mean, they were packed in there, literally. There was nowhere to stand. You couldn't stand, you couldn't sit down, you couldn't lie down. So you were kind of like sat on this raised area, because at the time, because of how the harbour was, the water, when the tide came in, the water would come in through to the bottom of the building.
Oh my
And
God.
so they used that to wash away any excrement, or because obviously they didn't have any
Yeah.
facilities, they'd washed away that. And then anyone who died would just be put down into this little um what do you call it, like a trough at the bottom. The water would come in and wash out the bodies, and it's horrific, absolutely horrific. And you kind of like go in there, and they tell you about it, and you're like, and you're standing
Yeah.
there where it happened, and you're like,
Yeah.
geez, that is a thing, that is a thing to see and
But
to think about. And yeah.
we often talk about, don't we, when you're actually in a place where something or
Yeah.
um, certain things used to happen. We talked last time when we were about going to Hever and stuff, and Anne would have been
Yes.
here. It's the same
Yeah.
thing. It's all, I don't know if
Yeah.
it's just we're particularly intuitive because of our love for the history, but you do sort of imagine how things are and how it would have been. And it's just, you just can't get your mind around
No.
how people can be treated like that,
Yeah.
and how other people can treat people like that. I
Yes.
can't understand that. But to be
No.
there, did it feel
Yeah.
quite
Yeah.
atmospheric in that way because
It
of that?
did. It did. It really did. And I must admit, I got a bit annoyed because there were people there who were doing selfies in this area, which I just felt was really disrespectful, for, because I really felt it when I was in there. I was just like, this is like, what happened here was abhorrent, you know. And
Mm,
then there are people there kind of, oh hi. I was like, literally going to punch you in a
yeah.
minute, like, which is on me,
Yeah.
because you know, I shouldn't be saying things like that, obviously, because I need to be more gracious and more generous with people, and lots of people treat these
It's
things differently.
difficult,
But I
isn't it?
just was like, God, yeah.
When we went to Berlin just over a year ago, we took the children there after they did their GCSEs, and it was amazing. And we did one of the concentration camps, and we
Oh
asked the
yeah.
kids if they wanted to come or not. We like, look, we think it's really important that we take you, and we went,
Yeah.
and it was harrowing. Like the whole thing,
Yeah.
like you just
Yeah.
feel it and stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then
Yeah.
there's over in a corner, you've got a couple of people in their 20s taking some taking these
Please don't
like
tell me they were
selfie
doing a TikTok
things.
dance.
No, there was no TikTok. I think I would have lost
Good.
my cool. But it
Yeah.
was you can
Yeah.
take photos and
Yeah.
stuff, but it's the whole
Remember
like
where you
yeah,
are. Yeah.
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 And I found out really, but what I was pleased and very had a proud mummy moment is when my kids were like, that's not cool.
Yeah, we see,
You know,
that's good.
this
That's
is
good. So you've got good
yeah. So I
kids.
was like, oh
Yeah.
thank God. But it was yeah, it's I don't. Maybe it's the way things are going. Maybe we're just
Yeah,
getting old now,
it
Bex.
is.
It's
Yeah,
the
and that's
way
it.
things are
And
going. You talking about things in the way of dance and TikTok and
yeah,
celebrating people in that way.
yeah,
But for
yeah,
me, old school,
yeah,
you bow your head and you take photos and
yeah,
and give you time to think. That's why
yeah, yeah,
those places are
yeah,
open, aren't they, for you to go
yeah, yeah,
and
yeah,
reflect and think about it. Yeah, it's
yeah,
yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Patience and virtue is not something I really have much of
No, no.
in
In
any
fact, if
way.
you'd
I
been there
don't.
with me, you'd have been like, we'd have death stared them, pincer movement, and then I would have been
Oh
like, you
yeah. Well, I used to be a probation officer. I definitely have that.
You have the
look
skills.
like that, and then people go, "Ooh, doesn't really work." I think that's quite British of us, though, isn't it? It's like when you go
Yeah.
the huff.
Yeah. Yeah.
Obviously, I was waiting in a queue yesterday,
Oh,
and
yeah.
I was doing a lot of passive aggressive huffing.
Yes.
So yeah,
Yes. Yeah.
yeah, I think
Yeah.
that's a
No.
British
Yeah.
trait. I don't know, but yes, I'm with you.
Yeah.
Anyway,
But anyway.
but that sounds, it's weird, isn't it, when you go on holiday and you're like, well,
Mm.
I went to do this, and it was, because what do you say? You can't go, I went to a concentration camp, or I went to see where slaves were kept and it was amazing. But
Yeah.
it's so, to us,
Yeah.
that is
Yeah.
an amazing way to spend our time.
Yeah. I mean,
So
don't get
yeah,
me wrong, we did that and then I went back to the beach and had a cocktail. So, it was yin and yang. It's all about the balance.
yes, yeah, yeah. I'm assuming that's your husband was very pleased about that, to have some
When
yin
I
and
mean, to be
yang.
fair, he loved Stone Town. He loved going to
Yeah.
So yeah, he was he was good. Yeah, so we had a great time. But
So what? So in Stone Town now, what is their main source of commerce or
oh, well, it's tourism now.
tourism?
It's yeah, kind of thing. Yeah,
And you said
um,
spices. What spices
yeah.
do they have,
I mean,
or is
literally,
there anything?
they've got spice plantations there. Like their main thing is, or was, I don't know now, but cloves, like
Oh,
loads of
okay.
cloves. But
Yeah.
literally, he was listing out all of these different spices that they grow because of their climate. They can like literally grow all sorts, and I think it's smaller now than it was, but it has been for years, like a major spice island and stuff. But the fruits
Wow.
there. Oh, we went to the market and we walked in, and it's like a proper old school. Like you'd be like in this country, people are like would be quite they'd be horrified. The health and safety, the lack of health and safety would have been like, there's people there walking around, they're just sitting there. And like I'll put pictures up. I found it absolutely fascinating because we all did survive a lot like years ago. We did all
Yes.
survive. Like I think the world's gone a little bit mad now. It
Oh,
was a
health and
little bit
safety
too
mad.
much.
Hmm.
And these people clearly do, and they're thriving and flourishing. So but all these like meats at there, the meat market, and there was an auction there, and they were doing all of this right in front of us. And then he was like, "Do you want to go in there?" And I was like, "Yes, I do want to go in there. I want to go and see all this." And then he's like, "Okay, follow me." So we were walking through, and then we walked through the fish bit, and then they've got all these separate stalls, these like kind of like pens, as it were. And then the people are just sitting there. The people who are selling them just sitting there without their shoes on because obviously they don't want to because they've like it's not like the best, like they're going to get dirty, so they might as well not wear their shoes getting dirty. And so they're just standing there and they're just sort of doing going around their daily business and doing their daily selling and stuff. And it was amazing. Walk straight through there, and then you would walk into like where the vegetables and the fruits are, and the fruits are just it blows your mind. And like the size of things there were just like stupid. He's like, "What do you think that is?" And I was just like, "Well, it looks like a mango, but I don't think it is because it's like 5 times the size that you would get at home." He's like, "No, it is." And he's just showing me things like they were like massive, like grapefruits like this. It went, "That's the size they're supposed to be." You were like, "Oh."
Really?
And then he was like making us try stuff, and the fruit there was just like off the scale, nicer, way nicer and tastier.
Grapefruits are supposed to be like
It was
this.
it was like they were huge, like literally like the size of a football.
See, you learn something new every day.
Yeah,
That's what I'm taking from
yeah.
today's discussion.
Do you do that?
All the amazing and wonderful things you've told me, and that's my
That's
take
your
home.
takeaway. Yeah, no, that's good. But I just we love to visit places like that, and we visited. Me and you visited Bath recently, didn't we? For I think we we met up in the day.
Well, I came and picked you up,
You came
and
pick me up.
then I drove up the steepest hill in the world in my husband's car because my children had stolen mine, and it was like this, and I think I went to first gear for most of it, but we
You
did
did, yeah.
eventually make it into Bath. I do when I go to Bath, it's always a
Oh no,
I
it's
just
lovely,
love
isn't it?
it, and I just want
Mm,
to touch all the walls of the houses because there's
yeah,
something about it, isn't it? I just
yeah,
and because I used to go there a lot when I was little, because I used to live nearby, and especially when you're at the top and you come down and you see all
yeah. Yeah,
buildings and stuff, and the stone. I love Bath, so
it is lovely. Yeah,
yes,
I love
it
it.
was lovely.
And you know, only what, like 10 miles away from me or whatever, 12
I
miles and stuff.
know,
It just
yeah.
it's a very handy thing to have. But having said that, and I'm so close, and like you, but my eyes were opened when we went to Bath one together, because for two things. One, you introduced me to another bookshop which I didn't know about, so we'll go on to that in a minute. But also
Oh
because
yeah.
we went to the Abbey, which
Oh
I'd never
yes.
been inside, which
I
is
and I had
crazy.
never been inside, or if I
No.
did, I don't. It would have been when I was a little kid, and I don't
Yeah.
remember. But because we were like, we need to see. We can't waste the opportunity because we didn't have to be at the book event until a few hours later. So we were like, yeah, let's go to the Abbey because we hadn't been to it.
Yeah.
And so, what did you think?
I thought, well, it had, and I can't remember the name of the art installation, but it was
Oh yes, the
something of
doves,
peace, doves of peace, yes, which
doves
I
of
think
peace.
we saw at Southwark Cathedral when we went
Yes,
to.
yeah, you said it was on
um,
tour.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think it's on tour. So I think it literally opened. I think it was that day it had been opened. So that was beautiful to see. And obviously
yeah,
the stained glass and everything. But it would, to be honest, it was a lot smaller than I thought it
yeah,
was going to be inside. When you're inside, you're like, oh,
yeah.
uh,
And we had
that's,
a, I've had a conversation with you there, but several since with people. Is it a cathedral or is it an abbey or what? And we're like, no. So it was started off life as a cathedral. It was built to be a cathedral, wasn't it?
yes, yeah,
But then it sort of got downgraded, or do you
yeah,
say that? Or it
yeah.
was made smaller, and
Demoted.
it was,
Yeah.
yeah, it breathed in, and then it became an abbey. So we've got to remember that it's not supposed to be as big.
No,
Um,
that's true.
and I think we're very spoilt for
Yeah,
beautiful
we
churches.
are.
And we were both saying how we're not the most religious or churchy of people, but
Well,
the
you're especially not, but we won't
buildings,
go into that.
yeah, that's not the this is not the platform for religious debate. But what they are so big, like stained
Yeah,
glass windows and vaulted ceilings and archways, and I always am amazed about how long they would have taken to build these
yes,
absolute monuments to God and the sky, and just amazing, just
yeah,
really beautiful. Um, so it was lovely, and loved the little chapel that was in there inside.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah,
so that was really cool. And we went to the museumy bit underneath,
yeah.
um, which it wasn't as organized as we like. We were discussing, weren't we, how when
We
you go
were.
into a museum or somewhere like that, it's
We like
nice
a
to know where you're
flow.
supposed to, where you
Yes.
start. I absolutely hate when you go in and it's a free for all and you're supposed to be able to go anywhere. No, I like order. I like to know you start here, and if you go this way, you'll get to see every single piece of
Yeah.
information. I don't handle it very well when it's not like that.
I think that says more about our brains than it does about you.
Oh,
That's
it's
more on us
just
maybe, but yeah, you're absolutely
I
right.
have this
It didn't flow
absolute
nicely. Yeah. Yeah.
when the fear of missing out is
Yes.
always always simmering in me.
Yeah.
So knowing that, and also because the places are always so busy, it's nice to know
Hmm.
where
Have
to go, which
order, to
order.
have order and flow and stuff
Yeah,
like that.
you're
But
right.
this
It probably says more about us than
Yeah, probably. But it was interesting for you to mention about how you're fascinated, or we both are, about how these things are built and how long it took and what went into it and blah
yeah.
blah blah. Because that leads me nicely along to
Segue in.
nice segue to uh
Ken Follett, Pillars of the Earth, one of the best books ever, one of the best novels in my opinion. What page are you on?
well, we're not going to discuss that. So what? So I'm just going to tell. Well, I've taken this out, so I can't tell. But that's my Anne Boleyn bookmark from Hever Castle I got the other day.
Nice. I had
But
to show that. Show off.
I, so I, to for my sins or for my like lack of knowledge or whatever, haven't read any of Ken Follett's books, and the reason why we were in Bath was to go to a talk by the lovely Ken Follett, in association with Toppings Bookshop, which is absolutely an amazing bookshop in Bath.
Beautiful. Yes.
And he was there to release his latest novel, to talk about his latest novel, which is called.
Circle of Days by Ken Follett. No, it,
Have it.
yes. I'm always, this is the book snob in me coming out now, but I'm always amazed when people are like, but it's the F, I don't know that. You're like, what? How have you never read that book?
See,
I
that
know
that
you're,
was the
I
look
know
I
you're
got
10
from
years
you.
old.
That's why
Yeah.
that's why I've now started on this one. So
Oh,
I've been told I need to start on this one, and you're very excited
yes.
for me, aren't you? Because you it's
I
a chunker of a book.
Oh yeah,
And
it's
yeah.
not a small book. And for people who may not have read it and are now thinking, shit, I better go and order that from Amazon or other good places. Um, so Ken Follett is a national treasure. He's a Welsh novelist who's written, I can't remember how many books, but loads and loads of
Oh,
books.
loads.
And I think Pillars of the Earth is over 30 years old. Um, I think he says.
Yes. Yes. I think it is. But yeah.
So it's I mean he's written a sequel which is based 200 years later and a prequel, and I think there's another couple of
1989.
1989, crikey, nearly
Yeah.
as old as me.
Yeah.
So and a few more years. But the Pillars of the Earth is, it's such a brilliant book because it's set in a fictional place of Kingsbridge, but it's talking about, and it's very loosely based on Salisbury and Salisbury Cathedral, and it's about the people of the town there and making it into a town really, but also
Yeah.
starting a cathedral. It's someone's dream to have a cathedral and build one,
Yeah.
and that sort of process. And there's a monk, and then there's this young lad who's very clever, and there's a builder, and then there's some evil archbishops going on, and an
Always
evil
is.
lord, and it's in
Yeah.
the backdrop. So even though it's a novel, there are a lot of real things going on. And what was amazing about his talk was he was talking about his process of making sure he does so much research
Mm.
about the period that he's talking about, and then he will send drafts of his stories to historians or people he knows to sort of fact check it a little bit and be like, would that have happened there, would that sort of be what they would say, or is that what they would do, and he'd take on those sort of any sort of advisories, and change them or rewrite them, whatever. And I don't know how long it took him to write Pillars of the Earth, because it is, like you say, it's a
Yeah.
massive book, but it's absolutely fascinating because they're starting the beginning. So he talks about when they're quarrying the mines
Yeah.
around and getting
Yeah.
how they get the materials over there and all those sort of things. And also it's in the backdrop with Matilda and Stephen, civil war, vying for the throne. And so, whilst that was going on, because the sort of heads of state in the land was doing that, it was very much the little villages and towns are run by the lords of the manor.
Yeah.
So you were very much, you were sort of under them.
Mm.
What they
Yeah.
said when they were the ones who
Yeah.
distributed justice, and they could basically keep you alive or not, or send you
Yeah.
on your way or whatever.
They
And
decide.
yeah, and at the beginning of the book, you meet Tom Builder and his family, and they
Yeah.
are living hand to mouth. They're literally
Mm.
traveling around while he finds work, and then he'll do a bit of a project for a while, and then move on to the next place. And you think, oh my God, I mean, my dad was a builder. I'm just imagining me and my sister, my mum, being packed up by him every few months or every year or
Yeah.
whatever to go on foot with no
Yeah.
shoes, and
Yeah.
to go to his next project and hopefully find work, and
Yeah.
how stressful that would have been, and all that sort of thing. So
Yeah.
he is a master
Yeah.
of setting the scene, his characters, getting, and then never one dimensional. There's always a bit of humanity in terms of you don't always 100% love people or dislike people. And there was a question, wasn't there, in the audience, who is your one of your, if you could be any character of the
Yes.
characters you've written about, who would it be? And he said it wouldn't be Prior Philip, who is a character in this book who is an amazing good man who's always trying his best, but he was celibate, he was a monk, and he was
Yeah.
very
Bit
moralistic, and
boring.
maybe didn't really have a sense of humor or anything. It's quite a
No.
straight guy, and he was like, I definitely wouldn't be him. And I thought that was a fantastic answer. um
Yeah.
I mean, I'm talking about Poliziev, and obviously he's got millions of other books, and I just will briefly talk about the Century trilogy that I told you you need to buy as well and read,
Yeah.
Becky. So he has three books, and it's set in the First World War, Second World War, and then the Cold War. And it it spans generations of families, but you've got an American family, a Russian family, a German family, a family sort of in England and Wales, and how they all sort of intermingle over the years. And again, he has real life people, so JFK's in the books, and he talks about all these things. So you imagine you being there. So when Pearl Harbor happened,
Mm.
it's the family who are there. There's an English woman who, for some reason, is in Germany, not to be a spoiler, in between the world wars, and sort of the devastation and the impact of the First World War, and how that then impacted the people in Berlin and
Yeah.
Germany as a whole. And you're looking at it from a point of view of somebody who could be your neighbor or your
Yeah.
sister or whatever. And that's why I absolutely love him. And
Yeah.
his Circle of Days, so his latest book, he's gone back even further than he ever has, and he's written about Stonehenge. And
Yeah.
he was talking about his research, which, did he say it took about a year for the research and then a year
Yeah.
to write it?
Yeah.
And he had, but he was using his imagination a lot more because there's not as much history, facts and things, and but he always tries to make it flow so it seems like a real possibility. He's
Mm.
like, obviously I
Mm.
don't know. um and I'm a few chapters in, it is brilliant, and there's
Is it?
already brilliant characters and things happening, and you're like, oh, what's going to happen?
Mm.
So I'm interested in how that will pan out.
Well, I mean, I've started this book, and I said to you earlier, I've now so this is generally what I do. I get, because I love having a book like this is perfect for me, because I'm like, oh yeah, that I need that as a real book, as like the real thing.
Yeah.
But then what will happen is that, like, generally I only get to read at night when I go to bed, like, and so I'm like, so I've now downloaded the second version. So you're welcome, Ken, for me buying it twice. And so that I can read it in bed, like, on my Kindle, so that I don't have to have the light on, and it's just my Kindle
Oh
showing the
yeah,
stuff,
when
and it's
it's a
and
big
it's a lot
chunky
easier to
book.
hold, because when you've got, like, that
No,
big one that you've got, the
yeah,
city, no, circle of
circle.
days.
Yes,
My God, I'm so bad.
that's the
Um,
problem with hardback books. But I always have a pillow,
exactly.
and then I always have it on top,
Yeah.
and my elbows are out. So Matt's trying to sleep, and I've got my elbow in his
Exactly.
face.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. So that's why I generally end up buying two versions of it. But what I was going to say about him was, which I think fascinating, because I've obviously learned about this author from you, and I feel that I am going to really enjoy it. Like, having read just what I've read already, I
Yeah,
just like. It's almost like I wish I'd had this on holiday. Do you know what I mean? Like, when you can sit there and then devour it. Like, so I'm
yeah,
just gonna have to go on another holiday and, like, But anyway, um, so what I
and he
found
doesn't.
fascinating.
He doesn't always take the obvious route either. You think, oh, I bet this happens and this happens, and then he
Yeah,
throw a curveball in,
it
and you're
doesn't.
like,
It. This
oh,
is good. Keeps you on your toes.
yeah,
I like
which
that.
is
I like
good.
that.
Yeah,
But the good thing I felt about him, so from what you've just explained and about what I already know, the books that he talked about, and then from when he was talking the other day, is his different genres. So normally
yeah,
you would get an author who is specific for an era or a time
yeah,
or anything like that, and they do it well and do it. But he has, like, bounced around, and I
yeah.
love that about him. And also what I love is, like, because one of the questions got asked on the evening, and they said, is there a time period where you haven't done what you would like to do?
Oh
And
yes,
he
yes,
said that he would like to do, so his next one, spoiler alert for people, will be about kind of like the Roman times and Roman Empire and stuff like that.
yeah,
So where and
yeah,
how that will work and where he will go with that, who knows? But he hasn't
yeah,
started it yet, and it takes him about 3 years, I think, to him to kind of, like, do the whole thing. So it's not going to be anytime soon, but
yeah. I mean,
that'll be something to look forward to.
I was upset they'd run out of time to ask questions, and I wanted to ask him, like, obviously it's over 30 years since Pillars of the Earth. Does he ever reread them? Go back and go,
Yeah,
oh, I didn't. And is he equally
yeah,
surprised? When you go back and read a book
yeah,
again, you can't quite remember it all, and then you're like, oh yeah, I forgot
yeah,
about that. Does he do that, or does he
yeah.
just, because he's lived it, does he know it inside out? or does he go back and is he quite hard on himself and think, well, I should have done that, or that would have been good if I had done
Yeah.
that. I wanted to ask him about that. So next time I will.
Next
But
time.
we were sat at
Yeah.
the front because we
Obviously.
are history magnets and we can't help ourselves. But he was such he was an excellent speaker. Obviously he's
Yeah.
got the experience, but he knows
He's a
what
bit of a
he's
silver
talking about.
fox, isn't he? Bit of
Yeah,
a
he
silver
was.
fox.
Yeah,
Mm.
he was really engaging, very
Mm.
charismatic, and
Yeah.
so fascinating. And I love the fact that he said one of the first things he did about writing Circle of Days is he went to Stonehenge and
Mm.
he said, didn't he say he was like going through a nearby quarry and going through all these like little tunnels and things with a
Yes.
hard hat
Yeah.
helmet on,
Yeah.
and he actually does his homework and he
Yeah.
talks to people and reads books and watches different documentaries and things. And I love the fact that even if there are bits that are not accurate, you like, well, at least he's tried to
Yeah.
make it as good as he can.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he was fascinating. I could listen to him all
He was.
night.
He was. And actually, a testament to him as an author as well was, I think, the amount of nationalities, the amount of people there anyway on
Yeah,
the night, but the amount of nationalities. There were people there who'd actually, from like, oh, and Peru and from Spain and whatever, and they're coming to because of him. Like, you're
yeah.
just, I find that amazing. They've like found it, he's in Bath randomly, and they've decided to come and
Well,
see him there.
the
And I
first
just thought
lady,
his reach is massive. Like,
yeah, the first lady who asked the question was shaking with. She was so
yes,
excited and nervous about
yeah,
talking to him,
yeah, yeah,
and I just
yeah,
thought that is a testament to him. I mean,
yeah,
he the trilogy books. I made Matt read them. I was like, you have to read these. You'll love them. They're full of so much history and amazingness of this time, which is right up his
yeah,
street. And
yeah,
he was like, he was blown away by the books, and he
yeah,
is not a man who gets particularly het up
yeah,
or emotional
yeah,
about things, but he was like,
yeah,
they were beautiful books because, especially because he was talking from all angles of the
yeah,
world wars and America and Russia and everything. He was talking all around it, that things that affected everybody, and
yeah.
that's what was
I think
incredible about those books.
I'm gonna get those for my husband for his Christmas present. Spoiler alert: he won't be watching this, so it's fine. He's not gonna know about it.
That's a good
So
test, though, isn't it, to find
it's
out
a
if he
good
watched it or
test. He'd be
not?
like, "Yeah, I knew I was getting these." I'd be like, "Yeah, okay." But yeah, so that was fabulous, fabulous day out, fabulous introduction
Yeah,
to
it
the author, but
was.
also another introduction you introduced me to, and how I didn't know that this was actually here
Oh,
was
yeah.
Persephone Books. And I mean, I just like literally can't stop touching it because like they're just like
They're
there's
so
such lovely.
silky smooth.
It's almost
My days there.
like a
Yeah,
dolphin or something. Do you know what I mean?
yeah.
Like so great and like so. I'm trying to say how what it is. What is that bookshop? The bookshop is specifically. I think it's women only authors, isn't it? I think. I'm pretty
Um,
sure it is. Did I read
it
that?
might.
I think it
No, I
is.
don't think. I don't know if
No.
it is, but it's old classics. I mean, because they had who wrote The Secret Garden? Francis Hodges Burnett, isn't it? So they
Oh,
have.
okay.
It's books that are from either well-known authors and their lesser-known works, or lesser-known
Yeah.
works from that sort of old old school
Yeah.
stories
Yeah.
and old school Penguin books. Um, but they reproduce them and they have beautiful like end pages.
Just gonna
So all of
show.
the books that have this lovely grey cover, but they all have different ends. Yeah, and you get a
Yeah.
bookmark with it.
Yeah.
And they are absolutely beautiful. It's a real labour of love, this shop,
Yeah.
Persephone Books. It's at the very top of when you go up the high street, it's literally at the very top, isn't it?
Yeah.
And it is it would be a great thing to do for any book lover, buy a gift for them from there.
Yeah.
But it and it's talking about, I mean, what was the book you bought? Because you wanted
So
to
the
buy
book
about 20, but you did go
I
for the
did
very first one that you looked at,
first
didn't
one I
you?
picked because well it's called the shuttle and it's basically and I think that the little card on it said that it was yeah, kind of almost bit Downton Abbey-esque kind of thing. So
Oh,
basically, it is
that's
a
all.
yeah, sold me, and like an American heiress, in the time when America, like, stately homes were going into disrepair over here at the turn of the
Yeah.
20th century, and because no one get their upkeep and everyone was running out of money, so basically the only way they could do that was by marrying American heiresses. So they like
Yes.
came over. So basically it was that, and it's basically a book about how this one heiress has come over, and it's like her adaptation to British life, and how horribly cold and
No,
in
she
all
hugs
like physically
everybody.
and emotionally, it was for them to be over here. But I think it's a fascinating insight into it, and it's just, when you're just like, oh my god, the content's great, the book's great, the bookshop was great, and I was just
Oh
like,
yes.
yes, it was
And they've got
just a
lots of,
wonderful thing.
it's very pretty, and there's lots of,
Yeah.
like, I got a little book cover from there as well. And the book I got, I can't remember what it's called, so I'll post on it afterwards. But it was, my book is written by a woman who was Russian, who was taken, ended up going to the Gulag and then going
Oh,
to
yes.
Siberia or somewhere awful for years and years,
Yeah.
and her sort of life over that. So I think she wrote it in the late 40s. So I'm really excited about that. I brought it home and
Yeah.
my husband was like, "This looks brilliant." I was like, "Yeah." I mean, why isn't that a bestseller that we
Yeah.
still go back and
Yeah.
read about? So but there were other books like uh there was a handbook, wasn't there, about how to be like a wife in
Yes.
the 40s. I mean, there's
Yeah.
quite a range
Yeah.
of things, and there was
There's
a lot of books where people were like writing about when they travelled to India or to the Far
mm,
East and things like that. I think you are right there. I think they were mainly by women
yeah.
authors. Well, they're certainly heavily featured in the shop,
Yeah.
if not all of them.
I
But
feel like
it's lovely.
it's gonna be one of those shops that every time I go to Bath, I'll go, oh, just go and get another one. Oh, just go and get
Yeah.
another one. And then so before I know it, I'm gonna have like a whole bookshelf of all these wonderful, beautifully, aesthetically pleasing
Oh yes,
books.
they're
And
so
they're just wonderful.
silky.
They're
They're
so good.
lovely.
So good.
And
So
you
yeah,
get a
so
free book. You get a free bookmark which matches
yeah,
your end
yeah,
pages
yeah.
with the books that you buy, or you can buy them independently.
Yeah.
So
I
yeah,
mean, if
love a bookmark.
it really is. If they were to think of a bookshop for the peoples of like you and me, this would be it. Like, there's
Yeah,
someone's gone, okay, we're gonna make this niche and make it really like, and
yeah,
then they're just like, yeah, perfect. Because actually
yeah,
what I'm probably gonna do is, another spoiler alert, is go and buy all my female relatives a book from there for their Christmas present, make it relevant for them, you know.
yes, yeah,
But
yeah.
now they know that.
And
But anyway.
well, and they do events there as well. So I mean,
Yeah.
you live much
Yeah.
nearer than me, so you could probably get yourself known. You'll probably
Yeah.
end up working there or something, knowing you, and
Yes. Yeah.
running a club there or something. But I mean, it's lovely. It's such a lovely idea, and I love the fact that people have really bought into that
Yeah.
experience. Um,
Yeah.
and yeah, what a great idea though. Yeah.
That's a great idea. So,
So we have to.
talking. Yeah, go on.
I was just going to say we have to
Oh,
talk about when we've finally read those books. We have to talk about
oh,
those
God.
as well.
Well, I keep buying books and never have time to read them. But anyway,
No.
let's talk about your other. So the other book event that I didn't go to, but you did go to. Um, I mean, it's very topical, very seasonal, I would say, for this time of year
Oh yes. Oh yes,
for the
lovely.
location and stuff that you went to. So why don't you share what you were, what you,
Oh
for
my
top
God.
starters? What was it called? What's the location of where you went? What was it called?
So it's called the Haunted Bookshop in
I mean,
Bristol.
that's amazing.
Yeah, it was beautiful as well. It's a lovely, so it's on the corner of the street and it's lovely. It's all dark, and of course for Halloween coming up, it had a lot
Absolutely.
of like painted on the outside. Um I got there ridiculously early because I was panicking. So I went to the shop over the road, and I was going there to see Anya Bergman. Amazing. She wrote The Witches of Vardo, if anyone's read that, which is a brilliant book, and that's set in Norway about the witch trials that went on there. Uh, Anon, and she was actually saying that she lived in Norway for 6 years, and the book took her about 10 years to write. But she was there promoting her book, The Tarot Reader of Versailles, which I've put on a Magnets post
Mm.
before. It was a, it was, I mean, first of all, the book is pink. There are not enough pink books.
You're
Let's just
absolutely right.
which I absolutely love. So it's a beautiful book to look at. And I think I said in my post, it's about two of my favourite things, tarot cards or tarot reader, and Marie Antoinette. So I was sold. Like, I'd ordered it before I'd even read what it was about. I was like, no, that's it. And I read it super quickly when I was in Carcassonne. Um, and absolutely loved it because it was a novel, but it's about a real life person, Adelaide Lenormand. I'm not very good at French pronouncing, and who was a real life tarot reader who lived in
Mhm.
Paris and who read the cards for Marie Antoinette, and then later on, she lived a long life. She later on read the cards for Josephine, I think Napoleon as well, but certainly all the rich
Oh, wow.
people and upper
Yeah.
classes of Parisian society. But this book is set in the revolution and at the beginning of the revolution, and it talks about, also there's an Irish character, and it brings in sort of the French influence and sort of partnership that there was over the Irish Revolution that was going on, the Great Revolution at the time,
Mhm.
which I didn't know too much about. Anyway, so I went to go and see this thinking this is going to be amazing, and it was brilliant. But because I was so early, I was waiting outside, and I went to the shop opposite, so I didn't look like I was being a weird stalker. And then as I came out of the bookshop, I looked over at the haunted bookshop, and Aya Bergman was coming up the stairs, and she happened to look over at me, and we made eye contact, probably for a weirdly long time, because I was just going grinning like an idiot, because I was like, I knew who she was. She obviously wouldn't have known who I was, but I was like, and she sort of did this smile and then went on, and I was just stood there thinking, yay. So then I went and stood outside for ages and met this lovely couple who were Essie and Alex. I think Essie actually follows us now.
Oh,
So we
fabulous.
were talking to them and babbling on. And that's another thing about history people.
Mm.
When you go to things like this, you can talk to anybody because you know that
Yeah.
you have something that you will connect on some
Yeah.
kind of level, don't you? You
Yeah.
just know
Mhm.
because
Absolutely.
you're there for the same reason. So we were talking about witch stuff. Anyway, the haunted bookshop, it's this little corner shop, and it's filled with history books and books on the occult and witches and novels and things like that. But they also sell tarot and crystals and lovely quirky things. So it was fantastic. So there was only 12 of us
Fabulous.
there,
All
plus
right.
Anya Bergman. So it was an intimate setting, which was lovely.
Yes.
So I got in there, and the first thing I did was apologise for being weird and stalkery, because they're like, "We saw you wait outside for so long." And I was like, "No, I was mega early. I was panicking. So I'm really sorry if I looked weird." They seemed to accept that. If they did or not, I don't know. But Anya was there, who was wonderful, whose real name is Noelle. I don't know. I don't think that's a secret because it says in the book. So Noelle was there, and Rara Tarot, who is part of the Haunted Bookshop and obviously does tarot readings, she was there, and also Lizzie Campbell, who is a Scottish singer who lives in London, who Noelle and Lizzie go way back and know each other. And she's a beautiful singer and songwriter who so they had this event set a little bit differently to anything I've been through. So Anya would do either a bit of a talk about the book and maybe read a bit of it, and then Rara would show us a tarot card and talk a little bit about that and how it was in with the book, and then
Interesting.
Lizzie would sing a song, sort of either inspired or a song that she'd already written that was sort of linked to what we were talking about. So there's a lot of
Yeah.
feminine power, and love, and taking back, being strong females. That was the
Yeah.
big themes. And about our homeland and being away from home and things like that. And she was spectacular. So I put all the links in of all these different
Mm.
people who were so amazing. Rara is going to read my tarots in the next couple of weeks. I've booked an online appointment with her. Um,
Fabulous.
and uh, Anya, or Noelle, also has been reading tarot for over 30 years. So it was really a really apt place, but it was really atmospheric, and we got to talk
Mm,
about the book. I don't think everyone there had read it. I mean, I've read it, so it probably would have meant differently to me than to other people who were
yes.
yet to read it.
Yeah.
And then, of course, I got to talk to her after they finished doing their talk and singing and everything. We were talking, and she said that she would like to come and be on our podcast
Well,
because I
that's
had, when I was reading the book, I was like, I loved it so much. I was like, I'm going to Instagram message Anya and see if, like, just let her know how much I'm loving it. And she responded. So, of course, I was absolutely thrilled to bits. And so then I kept messaging her going, I've just read a bit more and I'm crying now and I can't stop crying. And her characters are so lovely. And because a lot of them are real as well, so she talks a
Mm,
lot about the terror of the revolution when it was like a massive free for all at one point. So
mm,
people basically were getting in the Tuileries prison, and you didn't know if your name was going to be called the next day
no.
and you were going to go and get guillotined. I mean, thousands of people were guillotined, and Lenormand was actually there in the prison. And I think at the same time as Josephine, who later married Napoleon, although she was called
Hmm.
Rose then, because that's Josephine wasn't her real name, it was Rose. And her first husband, who was guillotined, was there.
Yes.
Um, and so what I loved about the book is that she talks more about the women, like, so Napoleon is mentioned, and some of the big guns like Robespierre and that, they're all mentioned, but they're not the main part of the book. It's the women. And Anya also touches upon the women's movement that were happening at the same sort of time, and how sort of quashed that also got, because a
Mm,
lot of the men were like, well, actually, yes, we're fighting for freedom and equality, but for the men, not really for you ladies. You need to carry on being at home and cooking and sewing.
hmm.
So she talked a lot about those real women who were also victims, because they were like, well, actually, I'm going to stick up for women's rights as well.
Yeah.
So it was really, it's such a brilliant story, and it had a bit of everything, a bit of love and a bit of terror and a bit of spookiness and all the rest of it. Some great characters, and um, I loved imagining this woman who became really successful. And when she died in like the uh, 1840s, maybe, she was quite old, but she never married or had children. But she was, I think, the wealthiest woman at the
Oh,
time when
right.
she died. So
Yes.
she was doing something right, and
Yeah.
maintained an independence as an orphan her whole life. So it was brilliant. But Anya Noel is one of the most magnetic women ever. She was absolute. I was a little bit in love, and I was just, I could have listened to her all day. So I sent you the photo, and you were just saying, weren't you? Look at your little face. Because, yeah, I was
Yeah.
so thrilled to have met her. She was just fascinating. And I love that, again, like Ken Follett, we were saying earlier, she did a lot of research into what she was doing and trying to find out. She said she was hoping to write a book sort of around this time and about it, and then found about this real life person and was able
Mm.
to do that. So that was really, really
I think it'd be
amazing.
really, really interesting to have her on the podcast. So well done for organising that, and I can't
Yes.
wait for us to record it and for us
Yes.
to for everyone
And
else to meet her.
yeah, we'll have to get her to do, maybe talk to us about the tarot as well, because
Yes,
in the
definitely.
book she does have her own spreads that and how to
Oh,
read them and stuff.
oh,
So a little
interesting.
bit of an
Yeah,
advisory in
we
there
could
as
do
well. I mean,
that. Yeah.
I've got some, I've got tarot cards, I've done a course and stuff, not very good,
Hmm.
and it's all about practice, but um it was really fascinating.
So
And
here's my next question:
yeah,
is the haunted bookshop actually haunted?
I don't know.
Oh, oh well,
I
we'll
didn't
find that
stop
out.
talking. I didn't stop talking long enough to find out, really. Shame on me.
Well, we'll find
Um,
that. We'll find that
I
out because I'd
Well,
love
a
to go
bit
and
like
visit that.
Bath, a bit like Bath. I find Bristol quite a spiritual place in terms of the
Yeah, yeah.
atmosphere and the history. I mean, I
Mm.
got there and I was walking around the galleries shopping bit, and there's a thing for Newgate Prison where, because it's where it used to stand, and I didn't know that. And I think of all the times I've been to Bristol, again, I used to
Yeah,
live
yeah,
near
yeah.
it, and I didn't notice that before. I was like, what am I doing? But it is. there's so much history around there. I feel like even
Yeah,
though it's quite modern and it's a pretty cool and hip hop place or whatever the kids say, but there is something about Bristol that you can almost
yeah,
feel
yeah,
the
yeah, yeah.
ghosts that
No, I
are
agree.
around there. Do you know what I mean? It's
Yeah,
and again, like you were saying about Zanzibar, I mean, it was a big slave trading
yeah,
place
yeah.
for many, many years. So there's a lot
Mm,
of deep
mm,
rooted history there. And I feel like it's marked it as a place. Um, and there's a lot going on there. It
mm.
definitely gives me chills walking around certain parts.
Yeah,
I really
I
like
agree.
Bristol. Yeah.
Mm.
But
Yeah, it's very
there
good.
is, yeah, it's got a lot of baggage with it. So
Mm.
yes, but I definitely recommend anyone going to that bookshop. They also sell things online, so definitely go online and have a look.
Have a little
Um,
look.
and look at Lizzie Campbell because that was the other thing I was going to say. Her voice, which was stunning. So it was very folk songs and things, but they were talking about keening, which is a Gaelic thing. Um, so in Ireland and Scotland, they used to have like a woman in the village who would basically be employed. So when there was a funeral, would go and do what they called keening, which is like wailing, but like a
Oh,
singing
yeah, yeah, yeah.
wailing.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
she
yeah.
would do that, which would either, it was like a mark of respect for whoever's died, but also
Yeah.
to help relatives and that to feel emotion
Ah,
and let it all out and sort of yeah, so walking around keening. I definitely want somebody keening at my funeral. So I'm going
okay.
to I'll let the kids know that. But
Okay.
Lizzie was saying that she tries to include a little bit in all her songs. So,
Ah,
and it wasn't that she was sat there waiting. It was just so beautiful and haunting and very
yeah.
fitting with everything that she sang. So that was a real pleasure as well. So the whole evening was magic.
Perfect. Well, we'll put
Yes.
a link about Lizzie as well in the
Yes.
comedy section so that everyone can
Yes.
click through and follow these people too. So that sounds
Yeah.
pretty
It was
amazing.
it was just brilliant. Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah, we just don't have enough time, do we, to read all
We
these
don't.
beautiful books or visit all these
No,
beautiful places.
no. But, when we retire, whenever that's going to be. But anyway,
Yeah. Yeah.
um, but talking of like powerful women or not being powerful, as the case may be, back in the day. Let's talk about a film that you recommended to me that my husband actually had watched, bizarrely, without me, considering it's very historic, which is a bit odd. Which
Disgraceful.
I have now watched and wholeheartedly agree with both you and my husband about how what a brilliant movie it was. And the movie I watched was The Last Duel, which which um, is based on a book
Yeah.
by
Eric.
I'm going to say Eric Edgar. No, I've downloaded it now because of course I
Yeah,
need
I've
to
got it. I've not read it, but I've got it. But that in turn is based on a apparently a real situation that
real
happened.
situation. Yes,
Yeah.
yes, and it was absolutely fascinating. And but it was what was it called? The last official judicial um duel in France
Yeah.
back in, I'm going to say, 1386, I think it was,
I think that is
maybe. Um,
pretty
and
close.
yeah, and no spoilers, but basically it is about a knight and his wife, and another nobleman, and one gets accused of raping the wife, and it is a story showing from the three different perspectives what actually
Yeah.
happened, which I thought was a really refreshing way of doing it in the first instance.
Yeah.
Which
Yeah.
was very clever to kind of like show the same story but three different ways.
Because you have three different reactions to it, don't
Yeah,
you?
yeah,
Because you're
yeah,
like again, not to do the spoilers, but when it's told from each point of view, you
yeah,
really and it shows you just how different people can view the same.
the same
situation that has
yeah,
happened.
yeah.
Um,
And
yeah,
especially back then as well. So the reason why it, obviously based on a true thing that happened, and historically things, so the screenplay was actually written, but there were three people who wrote it. Two were Ben Affleck, who plays the leading lord, of these two characters, who are other two guys, and Matt Damon, who is the husband, the knight,
yeah,
and so they wrote the screenplay. But then the third perspective, then they wrote the first two perspectives, which were the guy's perspective. But the last perspective, because there were no written um historical documents at all about women back then in France, they didn't have it. So they kind of, the lady who wrote that perspective kind of had a little bit more of a free reign from her
yeah.
imagination, because there was nothing to, but because there was never anything done, because she
No
was a
account.
woman, and because why
Yeah,
would, but when you look
unimportant.
at that, and yeah, and when you look at the film, and it was kind of like, it's hard to say it without having spoilers, but back in the day, women were raped a lot by all accounts, but because no one did anything about it, because there was no recount, and the farcical um resolution to whether or not someone was guilty or not, it was absolutely a joke. So the whole
Yeah.
point of the fact that, if when the duel happened, whoever, it was God's will, and God would determine who was telling the truth. So
Yeah.
whoever died was the one who was telling the untruth, and the
Nothing
one
to
who
do with
survived was
your
telling the truth. You're like,
nothing
hang
to do
on,
with your swordsmanship
no,
and your
no,
skills. Nothing to do with that. Uh,
no,
and I mean, even until quite recently, it often used to be that if anything did go to court or to do with rape, it was usually because someone had harmed a man's property, i.e., his wife or daughter or
yes,
whatever,
yeah,
as opposed
yeah,
to a woman taking
yeah,
someone to court.
exactly, yeah,
And yeah, it's what comes through very much is that how little regard there is for her and
yeah,
actually what
yeah.
happened to her. Um, because these men are too busy trying to swing out who's got the biggest
Yeah,
sword,
yeah,
as you will. And
yeah.
it's just, yeah, but it's beautifully done, is it? It's a beautiful
Really
setting.
is.
The
Yeah.
cinematography is amazing. The color is brilliant. Jodie Comer plays the lady in it, and she's
Marguerite.
amazing,
Yeah. She is
amazing, isn't
amazing.
it?
Mm.
And you just think, because it sounds so, like, to us, it sounds so ridiculous. Well, my husband's
Yeah.
going to have a. I've accused this man of rape. My husband's going to duel him. Can you
Yeah.
imagine that?
No.
Matt would be like, I'm all right, thanks. I'm not going to duel him. I'll
Crack
go
on,
make a cup of tea. Yeah. So
Yeah.
yeah, just absolutely crazy. Um, I often, that's what I think about history and generally. A lot of things happen that are
Yeah.
so crazy, and you're like, that's what's so
Yeah.
amazing, I guess.
It is
And that's
fascinating.
that. What's brilliant about the Last Duel film is, yeah, you don't sit there thinking Groundhog Day, I'm watching this bit again. It's so interesting. They do it so well that
They do.
you spend a lot of it going, oh, and then you go, oh, and then you're like,
Yeah. Bec-
it's
And there's a hint of difference. So it's the same scenes playing out, but a hint of difference. So I specifically noticed it where it was uh he's gone into her castle and is basically chasing her up the stairs, and the way where she loses her shoes is like one scene she takes them off, and then another scene when he's chasing her from her perspective, she falls over and they fall off halfway up the stairs, sort of thing. And it's
yeah,
like the different in like the attack scene, the difference in that is just the different
yeah.
nuances, and when you see it, it's very cleverly done.
It's really well done. Um, Adam Driver is
Mm.
amazing. He is a
Yeah,
sexy man as well. I think he's spectacular in it because, in a way, they're playing three different characters, each of
yeah,
them. Um,
yeah,
and so it shows you how how fantastic acting all of Matt Damon, Adam Driver, and Jodie Comer are.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
I wasn't sure about Ben Affleck's hair. That was
Oh,
my
I wasn't.
only
I had to
downside.
Google it was actually him because they looked like him, but I was like, no, that's not him. It's not right.
Is it blonde and curly or something? It's very
It's very weird. It's very
weird.
strange.
But that was
It's
it.
very
But otherwise,
yeah. But and then also, I mean, to take it to a very base level, you also get to see Adam Driver naked. So
yes.
oh yeah,
The joys of pause it. I mean, I went to cinema, so you watched it at home. So did you pause it?
yes, no.
Did you?
Well, at that
Oh, I
point,
always
no.
pause it if I can. I was really chuffed that you said yes. So yeah,
But
I
yeah,
need to watch
it
it
was very
again.
good.
Yeah,
Yeah, watch
yeah,
it again.
very
It
good.
was I liked it. I wouldn't mind seeing it again, even though I've only
Yeah,
just watched it, just to sort of like go through and see the bits that I think because actually it's fascinating as well. Fascinating part of history, you know. So
yeah,
it's yeah, and it just it reignited my thing. It's like so as I always say, my husband and I always say, like when we fully retire, we'll have done most of the castles in the UK by that stage. And okay, well, we can go round again, which we probably will do, but that's fine. But actually, what the plan is then to go over to like Europe and the continent to do the like French
yes,
castles and like for everything because haven't really done as many as those as we would do here because we have these beautiful ones on our doorstep and we do
yeah,
it so well here.
yeah.
So yeah, that's the plan. So yeah, did it kind of like ignite that whole thing as well of like, oh
Where do you
look, we
know
can
where
go
it
and
was
see.
filmed?
No, I did Google it because there was one point where I was like, I think I thought I recognised it. It was a particularly greeny looking scene. I can't remember which one it was, and
Mm.
so I Googled to see where it was. But it was filmed in Ireland and in
Oh,
France. It wasn't ever filmed in England. So, but yeah, so I'll look up those ones
I
and work out where it
I
actually
love
was filmed.
the room where they have the trial in, like the court bit.
Yes,
That
yeah,
massive. Yeah,
yeah,
I really loved that. I thought that was an
yeah,
amazing place. I'd
yeah,
have to look up where that was. But yeah, the whole thing was it was just really interesting. Obviously, we're looking at it
mm,
with modern eyes, but these are things that didn't matter how noble a woman you were,
yeah,
um, you were still second class. Whatever was going on, you were
yeah,
always the second class person
yeah,
in the room if you're in the room
yeah,
with a man.
yeah.
Um, yeah, so it's
And it was
yeah.
fascinating how they were sort of like saying that in terms of like they were saying that most women would never
Have said anything. Yeah,
said anything, and she's like, well, why? I'm not going to keep silent. It happened,
yeah.
and this is why wouldn't I? But it was interesting when I read something about it as well that they were saying that back in those days they were so. I mean, not only they are now in courts and stuff, but they were so back then. If you deviated at all by a small percentage at all in your story and then you kept being interrogated and kept
Yeah,
being like asked all these questions and stuff if you got your story wrong at all then that was it, you were thrown out of court and then you were just like you were guilty and that was it.
yeah.
And you're just like, how crazy is that? Like, and the fact that she became pregnant at that time, now whether or not that was his from the result of the rape or whether it actually was her husband's baby, no one will ever know. But they had this crazy thing that it was you could only conceive if you
Oh, yeah,
had reached a suitable climax, and you're like, okay, the body don't really work like that, but
yeah,
but they fully
yeah.
believed that, and it
Yeah.
was
They
just
really
like
believed as long as the woman orgasmed, then
yeah,
she would be fine to be
yeah,
pregnant. That would
yeah,
enable a pregnancy. You're like,
yeah,
that's men
and I
making
think it
themselves
almost
feel better, isn't it?
yeah. And all yes, exactly, 100%. And she's just like, oh, do you know? And in court, she was asked it whether she not, and you're just you could tell she was like, yes, of course it was. You could tell through gritted teachers. It's like for crying out loud.
Yeah.
He's have you seen him? Like but anyway. And what was the other thing that you couldn't conceive after a rape or something because it wasn't God's will or whatever. And you're just like, this is nonsense, like absolute nonsense. And it's
Yeah.
just like then that's just what they believed, and you're just like, and it was no wonder women didn't, because let's face it, if her husband had, spoiler alert, failed and got killed in the duel, then she would automatically, that means he was guilty, and she would automatically be burnt at the stake. She
Yeah,
was
because she would have
ready,
been, yeah,
cuffed up, ready to go, because if he
yeah,
had died, they would have casted her
ready
off
to go.
right there and then and set light
Yeah,
to her.
yeah,
Awful.
yeah. It's, but then, because that's the last duel that ever happened, you wonder, well, did that happen in previous duels? Did that happen?
Yes. Yeah,
Oh
must have
God.
done. Must have done. And the worst thing
Yeah,
was, and they was like saying to her, because obviously they try and find any way to make her tell the truth because they're convinced that she's a woman, she's not telling the truth. Why would a man rape you? That's not true, you know. So they're trying to make her say that she wasn't raped and she wasn't telling the truth. But she was like, well, I absolutely was. And they was like saying to her, it can take 20 to 30 minutes for you to die. You're basically being roasted alive, like, you know. So are you sure? And
yeah,
she's there going, no, actually, I stand
yeah.
by
Do you
what
want
I
to
said.
change?
And he, yeah,
Yeah. You want to change your mind? No, because
no,
that's true. That's the truth, isn't
yeah,
it? Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, oh
Thank God we didn't live back then. That's what I say.
God, I totally would have been taken as a
Oh,
witch.
we would, yeah, yeah, totally.
Oh, yeah. Not me. Not me. Yeah. It wouldn't. We wouldn't have lasted very long.
No, we wouldn't. No, far too gobby and opinionated.
Yeah. I'm
Oh,
proud of
there we
it.
go. Yes, exactly, exactly. Yeah, but never mind. Anyway, there we go. So yeah, I encourage anyone to go and watch it. Very good.
Yeah. So go and read all of those books. Go and watch the film. Go to Bath. Go to Bristol. Go to Zanzibar.
Yeah.
What else have we told people to do today? I think that's
Sure.
enough for now,
I
isn't
think that's
it?
I think
So.
that's enough for now. And we've got a whole load more in our next episode, which will be coming next week, hopefully.
Yes, I'm
Which
gonna.
will be interesting.
Well, I think we're gonna chat whilst I'm in Portugal, and maybe bring my mum along, and maybe talk about some
Yes.
ancestry, something closer to
Yes.
home as such,
Yeah, absolutely.
because because we both have been loving doing our own family trees and getting quite far and getting some crazy
Yeah.
stories out of that as well, which need to be
Yeah.
shared.
Yes, which we
So
need to
let's
find
do
those out. I
that.
might have more detail by that stage as well,
Yes,
which
that'd
would
be
be interesting.
great.
Yes.
Yeah.
Cool. All right then. Wonderful. Well, until next time.
Until next time, everyone. Thank you, and bye bye.
Bye bye.